ready to challenge him. And for people out there, it's like, oh, they want to walk on eggshells with Luka. You don't want to challenge Luka. No, Luka can take being challenged. Like,
yeah, it's not what Mosley did.
Yeah, Luka can be coached. Like, and so I want to see, like, who is that guy? Is it Kid? Do we know if Kid's going to do that with Luka? Is it Igor? Is that the reason they brought Igor on? Because they're like, hey, Igor has coached him before. Igor can get in his face. Igor can challenge him. Is that Igor's role? Is that going to be a guy like Sean Sweeney? Is it going to be a Jared Dudley type? It's like, hey, man, like I can talk to you, straight too. So I'm really curious to see outside we all want to see the Kid dynamic as far as coaching, head coach, and relationship with players, especially after his previous stops. But the assistant relationships too, that we have talked about so much. Who works out who before the games? Who's developing that chemistry like Mosley and Luka did, and talking, Shed and talking to Melvin Hunt over the years, and how they're assigned these players each season that they work out before the games and they get to know. So I'm curious to see how that works out.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting, and kind of one of the only interesting things about assistant coaches that we can really know. It's hard to know behind the scenes who's in charge of what. We had somebody tweet us today, who's the defensive coordinator? Well, they don't always say that. They don't always just come out and say, this is a guy that does this.
It's not Dudley. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
But to your point, who's going to challenge Luka? Because that's what really matters with this coaching staff. Is I think from different angles, they all can. Igor obviously has coached him before. The only one that has coached him before. I think that matters. I think that relationship matters. Jason Kidd, we've talked about all summer how he can, coach Luka and how he can challenge Luka. He's been there. He's been a superstar in that position.
But we don't know. We don't know how Luka feels about Kidd though. Like that's the. It's not the elephant in the room, but that's like the question that you just wonder in the back of your head. Like, he stepped into Rick Carlisle knowing Rick's been here for 12 seasons, or 11, however long when he was a rookie. He's won a title here. He's been here, for so long. Like, Rick Carlisle. He knows Igor. How does he feel about Kidd? Is it just, oh, cool, Jason Kidd, he's a Hall of Famer, one of the best point guards. I respect him. I'm really curious deep down, truth serum, if you gave it to Luka, like how he feels about Jason Kidd, or even if he has a thought about Kidd right now.
I think if we're going to assume that he respected Carlisle because of those things, I think we can assume that he would respect Jason Kidd because of his playing career and all that, right? Like, I think we can assume.
I guess playing career. I think there is a difference between having a great playing career and a coaching resume of going to the playoffs and wins as much as Rick has, a title and all of that.
Yeah, so and back to my point, I think all of them can challenge him in a different way. Igor because he knows him before, Jason Kidd because of his playing career. Jared Dudley, I think, is going to challenge him in more of a I've been a veteran a long time in the league. He may not coach him really hard, but he's going to be the one that steps in when Luka needs some help in a spot in the NBA season or something like that. Sean Sweeney, we've seen him with Giannis. Now, we didn't see him with Giannis at the peak of Giannis's powers, but he's gone at players before, and he'll challenge people. And so I think that's a guy that can help challenge Luka on the coaching side too. And Christy Tolliver, she's played, she's been around, she's been an all-star. Like, she's won titles. She knows how to get to the mountaintop. And so I think she'll be able to challenge him as well. She's not going to take anything from anybody. So I think all of them in their different ways, I think, can challenge Luka. And I think that's great.
Yeah, and I joke about the Jared Dudley thing, but I love the hire. Like, as soon as it happened, and even now, I love that they hired Dudley to be an assistant, because everything that we've talked about with JJ Barea, even going back last year to where, if he's retiring and let's just say he becomes a coach, like having the bridge the gap type of person, even though Kidd has been a player and all of that stuff, having a guy that was literally just a player and thought he was going to keep on playing, and to have those relationships with the players, and everything you possibly hear about Jared Dudley, from Kuzma to LeBron to anybody that's ever played with him, they all love him. So I think players are going to be able to connect with him. And if there's ever, any of these issues that happen, there's a disconnect between coaches and players, Dudley's going to be the guy that like bridges that gap, that, hey, this, the guys are talking about this right now, talking to Jason, talking to Igor, like, this is how they're feeling. This is, and so I think that's what Dudley brings that nobody else can bring.
Oh, for sure. It'll be interesting to see him we've talked about the reason why that they should have brought back JJ Barea as a player instead of just moved him to a coaching role right away is there's a difference, when you're a player than if you're a coach, right? It's like almost having the teacher in the room with you. You're not going to say the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see him make this transition. But Jason Kidd made the transition straight